As I drove in here this morning, there were a group of people assembled outside the building, as is their right and as people should assemble. And some of them, I heard them saying, keep your hands off Syria. I certainly appreciate the feelings in our country, too, about people who have strong feelings about war and strong feelings about not going into yet some other engagement in another part of the world. But I think it would be good to hear people saying to a dictator, keep your hands off chemical weapons that kill your own people. Protect your own people. I think it's important for us to stand up as nations for civility and against actions that challenge notions of humanity and decency and appropriate international behavior. And for almost 100 years, the world has stood together against the use of chemical weapons, and we need to hear an appropriate outcry as we think back on those moments of history when large numbers of people have been killed because the world was silent. The Holocaust, Rwanda, other moments are lessons to all of us today. So let me be clear. The United States of America, President Obama, myself, others are in full agreement that the end of the conflict in Syria requires a political solution. There is no military solution, and we have no illusions about that. But a resolution to this has to come about because the parties are prepared to come and negotiate that political solution. And if one party believes that he can rub out countless numbers of his own citizens with impunity, using chemicals that have been banned for nearly 100 years because of what Europe learned in World War I, if he can do that with impunity, he will never come to a negotiating table. A resolution will not be found on the battlefield, but at that negotiating table, but we have to get to that table. And we're in full agreement with our British friends that the humanitarian situation is obviously dire and growing worse. 5 million people displaced within Syria itself. Numbers of refugees fleeing from that gas into Lebanon, into Jordan, providing an incredible burden to each of those countries and others in the region. This is a humanitarian catastrophe of global proportions, and the world needs to focus on it, pay attention to it, or we give license to other dictators or other groups in other parts of the world to engage in similar behavior and just make things worse for everybody. The United States is proud to say we've been the largest humanitarian donor. We recognize that responsibility, and we're also proud to say that we stand with our friends here in Great Britain, who are the second largest donor. So we don't come to this with a sense that all we care about is some kind of a military response. We come to this with years now of effort, literally years of effort, to try to bring the parties to the table and create some kind of political solution, because that remains our top priority.